about your tree.
Oh, thank you.
It's just frightening.
Yeah. Well, they didn't know how to take care of, you don't water white oaks in the winter because that ruins their protection. They dry out. So, and they watered it. So I don't know. Frustrating
Yeah,
and sad. It was a beautiful tree.
I bet. Okay, I'll call us into order. Welcome to the January 26, 2021 meeting of the Salem Planning Commission. Shelby, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Augustine,
Here.
Commissioner Griggs,
Here.
Commissioner Heller,
Here.
Commissioner Kopcho,
I'm here.
Commissioner McKinley,
Here.
Commissioner Pollock,
Here.
Commissioner Schweikart,
Here.
and Commissioner Slater,
Here.
and Commissioner Levin has not arrived yet.
Okay, great.
But we do have quorum.
Thank you, Shelby. We'll move on to the consent calendar, but before I look for a motion from Commissioner Augustine, Commissioner Pollock, I think you had a statement you'd like to make.
Yes, I was absent excused for the last meeting. However, I did review the last meeting on YouTube, so I'm up to date. So I think I'm eligible to vote on the minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Pollock. Commissioner Augustine, do you have a motion?
Yes, I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second? And I don't see faces, so you need to raise your hand. Commissioner Pollock is my second. Discussion on the seeing no.
Sorry,
Yes.
I'll be abstaining.
Commissioner Kopcho is an abstention. Okay, any other conversations about that motion? Shelby, will you call the roll and signify by saying aye if you're in favor of the motion?
Commissioner Augustine,
Aye.
Commissioner Griggs,
Aye.
Commissioner Heller,
Bye.
Commissioner Kopcho,
Abstain.
Commissioner Levin is not here yet. Commissioner McKinley,
Aye.
Commissioner Pollock,
Aye.
Commissioner Slater,
Aye.
and Commissioner Schweikart.
Aye. Thank you, Shelby. Motion passed. We'll go to public hearings. I'll open a hearing on item 5.1, which is case number CPC NPC ZC 20-10. Before we get the staff presentation and statement of criteria, are there any conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts that anybody would like to declare at this time? And I see no hands raised. Shelby, would you please read the statement of criteria?
This is a public hearing to consider a comprehensive plan change, neighborhood plan change, zone change, case number CPC NPC ZC 20-10 for a property located at 1410 20th Street Southeast, 1510 22nd Street Southeast, and 2035 Oxford Street Southeast. The criteria applicable to this application are found in the Salem Revised Code, SRC, chapters 64.025 E2 for comprehensive plan map amendments and 265.005 E1 for quasi-judicial zone changes. Failure to raise an issue prior to the close of the public hearing with statements or evidence sufficient to afford the Planning Commission and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals, LUBA, on that issue. A similar failure to raise constitutional issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Prior to the conclusion of the hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence or testimony. The Planning Commission will then either continue the public hearing or leave the record open for at least 7 days.
Thank you, Shelby. Aaron, are you ready to go?
I am. Good evening. Can you see my screen here?
Yes, we can see it.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, good evening, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Aaron Heiko with the Planning Division. This is Comprehensive Plan Change, Neighborhood Plan Change, and Zone Change, case number CPZ NPZ ZC 20-10. At this time, I'd like to enter into the record the staff report, including its attachments, in this presentation. This is a vicinity map of the property. The property here has a combined size of about 20.9 acres and is within the urban service area. The property has several street frontages. The property has frontage along 20th Street, which is designated as a local street, 22nd Street and 23rd Street, which are both designated as collector streets, and then Oxford Street to the south, which is also designated as a collector. And then there's a portion of Oxford Street over here on the east end that's a local street. This is a zoning map of the property. The property currently has 3 different zoning designations. PS, the public service zone, IG in the gray is general industrial, and then in the purple is an IC zone, industrial commercial zone. There's a similar zoning around the properties, IC zoning, general industrial. There's the 22nd and electric overlay zone to the south of the property, which is general industrial zoning, but this was an existing single family neighborhood. There's a combination of single family and industrial uses in that area. This is the comprehensive plan map for the property. The majority of the property is designated as industrial commercial, with a small portion along Oxford as the industrial designation. This is an aerial photo of the property. This is the City of Salem Shops Complex, an existing complex, several buildings, lots of vehicle storage, equipment storage in this area. We have another photo here. This is on the western portion of the shops complex between 20th and 22nd. And then another photo here showing the eastern portion of the shops complex between 22nd and 23rd. The request is for a comprehensive plan map amendment, neighborhood plan change, and zone change for the shops complex to community services government, a designation with public service PS zoning, providing a consistent designation for the entire property. As indicated in the staff report, the economic opportunities analysis adopted in 2015 concluded that the city has a surplus of available industrial land. The EOA assumed that the subject property would not provide capacity for additional economic development because the property is owned by a public agency and is committed to an existing public use. The proposed change in designations would not impact the city's ability to meet future industrial land use needs. The current split zoning creates a challenge for the applicant or the application of development standards such as setbacks and minimum landscaping for the complex. The applicant indicates that there are plans for future redevelopment of the shops complex. The proposal would provide a consistent zoning for the property and therefore a consistent set of permitted uses and development standards that would apply to future redevelopment of the property. The PS zone, public service zone, is equally or better suited for the property because it would allow for a continuation of the existing shops complex use and ensure that the land is committed to future public use. The property is located within the Southeast Salem Neighborhood Association, also known as Cessna. Cessna has an adopted joint neighborhood plan with Northeast Neighbors to the north. The combined plan is the NEN-Cessna neighborhood plan. Now, this plan has no specific goals related to the City of Salem Shops Complex. The applicant has provided a written response addressing each of the applicable goals and policies from the NEN-Cessna neighborhood plan. The city provided notice of the proposal to surrounding property owners and addresses and to the neighborhood association. We did not receive any comments on the application. And staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve the request. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Questions of staff at this time? Commissioner Pollack, followed by Commissioner Slater.
So I would like to kind of confirm 3 points for the record. Is there any portion of this property site that's currently zoned for multifamily, or has a current conditional use for multifamily?
So this is a zoning map for the property. We have 3 different designations here. We have public service, general industrial. These zonings don't allow for any opportunity for residential, multifamily residential. On the eastern portion, there is an industrial commercial zone. Now this zone would allow for multifamily with a conditional use permit. One has not been applied for or obtained for the property here.
Okay, so my second point that I want to reconfirm for the record, is any portion of this site included in the residential, the City of Salem residential buildable lands inventory?
No, this was a property that was already developed, committed for public use. It wasn't considered in the inventory.
Okay, and then the last of my points, my questions, is this can you confirm that this public agency is committed to the existing public purpose activity in the future?
That's my understanding. The city of Salem owns the property, and I believe they have plans for future redevelopment. And we'll continue to own and operate the shops complex at the facility here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll go to Commissioner Slater in just a second, but note for the record, Commissioner Levin is here and I see your hand raised. I'll first go to Commissioner Slater and then Commissioner Levin.
Thank you. Aaron, can you tell me what are the landscape requirements for public service zoning?
Sure. In the public service zone, setback areas would have to be landscaped. And then any vehicle use area, parking areas, there would be a landscape component to development of those areas.
Great. And by going through the zoning application, will that trigger those? I guess, will it trigger the requirement that they meet those?
Not with the rezoning and the change in the comprehensive plan map designation. When the applicant comes in for redevelopment and we get a site plan review application, we'll apply the development standards at that time.
Okay, so just let me clarify that so I understand it correctly. So it's not a zoning change request that would trigger the implementation of landscape requirements. It's the actual site plan application.
Yeah, at time of development. Yeah.
Thank you. So if they choose not to implement, they choose not to make any improvements there, the landscape standards would not apply at this point.
Right. The trigger for looking at current landscaping standards would be with an application for a site plan review for development of the property.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was my only question.
Thank you. Commissioner Levin, followed by Commissioner Heller.
Hello, thank you for acknowledging my presence. I came in about 4.5 minutes late to the meeting. And so I wanted to make sure that that was on the record that I was late, but I did make it, and I did hear Aaron's presentation, and I did read the package. Aaron, a question for you. I believe that between, 20th and 22nd, through the middle of the shops complex, there is what is, I believe, technically a city alley. This is more just edification purpose, but do you know if Public Works, if they follow through with the redevelopment, are they planning or strategizing to request a vacate of that alleyway?
So I have the photo here. I think this is the area they're talking about between 20th and 22nd. I don't know the applicant's intention on how the site will function, but I think we do have the applicant here. They may be able to answer that question for you.
And we'll have him up in just a minute. Can you hold that question, Commissioner Levin, until we get the applicant up?
Oh yeah, like I said, this is more just for edification than pertaining to the application directly. So happy, just any information that the city's willing to share.
Sounds great. Thank you, Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Heller.
Thank you for calling on me. I wanted to ask about what is the City of Salem Shops Complex? What do they do there?
So they have the Public Works Dispatch office out here. They store vehicles. There's a fueling station out here for city vehicles. I believe the police department They refuel out here. There's vehicle maintenance areas out here. The planning division, we go out here occasionally when we're doing sign sweeps, and we store some signs that we pick up out at the shops complex. There's a variety of services though that are provided here. The applicant would probably be able to give you some more background here about what services are provided.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Pollock.
Aaron, could you please put back on the zone map that you had before? Yes. So in regards to our patchwork, kind of trying not to have any patchwork, can you tell me why that on the subject property that's on the corner of Oxford and 20th and 22nd, why there's that little carve out that's not being I mean, that whole thing is it's proposed to be changed to public service, and why is there a carve out there?
I don't believe the city owns this property. This is under private ownership.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's great. I'm glad that. And then also maybe, the last thing is, okay, I'm really goofed. I don't know how, but which is the portion that you want to change from industrial commercial to community service government? Am I reading something wrong there?
Yeah, so I mean, there are several zoning designations on the property currently. So the zoning would change, or is proposed to change, from general industrial and industrial commercial to public service. And then if I go to the comprehensive plan map, so there's a different designation for this. There's also an industrial commercial designation that's proposed to go to CSG, which is Community Services Government. And as well as this portion down here that's industrial, this would also go to CSG. So the proposal here would have that one consistent designation for the comprehensive plan map as CSG, and then one consistent zoning, which is the PS, public service.
Okay.
Are you good?
Yeah, thank you very much.
You bet. Any other questions of Aaron at this time? We'll have another opportunity. Thank you, Aaron. We'll move on to the applicant. Would the applicant like to address the commission and name and address for the record, and 15 minutes or less?
Yeah, hi. Thanks, everyone. I'm Luke Mazel. I work in public works engineering, and I appreciate your time this evening. Aaron, thank you so much for your thorough report. At the risk of reiterating some of what Aaron said, I'm going to jump into sharing some slides that I prepared. So you'll see some familiar stuff there, and I think we'll also get a chance to answer some of the questions that I heard previously. So let me see. I am not too familiar with Zoom, so I'm going to go ahead and try and do this way. Thanks for bearing with me, everyone. Let's see. What am I doing?
It is a little different than anything else. You have to select what you want to share, and then after that, at the very bottom of that box, hit share again, which is like you confirming that you want to share.
Okay. Thank you for crash course in that. Let me see. I think I'm gonna have to move this over. Apologize for the technical difficulties here.
We're in no rush.
I appreciate that. Slideshow. I'm going to start from the beginning. And now it doesn't want to do that way. All right, bear with me.
You probably don't want to put it in presenter mode until after you pick it to share. And then once you share, then you would put it in a presenter mode and pick the first slide.
There we go. Okay. Okay. There we go. And then I'll say.
Yeah, it works. We get it.
And then I'll say from beginning. But then is it sharing? Which side is it sharing? What do you see? Do you see my whole breakdown here or just the slide?
Now,
Yeah, I think you want to go up now to the display settings. Can you see? We can see like both of your slides and your next slide. Yeah. And then
There we go.
Yeah.
That looks better.
there you go.
Okay. And just so you know, on a personal note, I am piano sitting. I don't play piano. So yeah, again, I'm gonna start this off by just giving a little background, and you're gonna hear some things that Aaron had already mentioned. Obviously, you gather that we have several parcels here that comprise the City Shops complex. Really, the next step, the next step in implementation of our master plan to redevelop the complex is the rezoning. So hence our application. Let's see. And I want to reiterate that the fact that we're undergoing or going through this, implementing this master plan is representative of the city's commitment to ownership and management of these parcels. So, and should reiterate that, emphasize that we plan to continue this use on these properties. I'll jump to the next slide. This talks about a little bit about the purpose of the proposed zoning. Aaron talked about this, but you see here we show them all as public service. And this proposal does include an amendment to the comprehensive plan map, as Aaron mentioned, and a corresponding amendment to the Cessna neighborhood plan map. I've spoken with the chair of the Cessna Neighborhood Association recently, or corresponded via email, and reminded them of that aspect of this application. And she was expressed her support. So that's a good thing. So a little bit about the reason we're doing this. Rezoning will allow the city to consolidate the adjoining parcels and eliminate the interior lot lines. That way redevelopment can be reconfigured within the overall boundary without being restricted by the interior property lines where they exist today. This will allow flexibility for design of the redevelopment phases. And it does so through the elimination of requirements for things such as setbacks and buffers from those interior lot lines. And as Aaron mentioned, rezoning will also help simplify the design and plan review process by narrowing the development standards to the single zoning designation. So Aaron touched on all of this stuff. I don't need to spend much time on this slide. The staff report speaks to this, that the proposal is consistent with the applicable planning documents and Salem Revised Code. And a couple notes here that Aaron had already mentioned regarding these properties are not considered to provide capacity for additional economic development, since the properties were not included in the residential buildable lands inventory. The finding is that the proposal will not reduce the city's supply of residential land. And just one other caveat to this application process, we had to do a traffic study, and it was found that the proposal will have no significant traffic impacts. A little bit about the proposed redevelopment. This is a snapshot from our master plan. This first phase of development includes the construction of a new public works operations building, which is shown here where it says begin construction. This building is intended to house the administrative offices and relocate personnel from existing buildings that are old and seismically unsound, specifically this building number 2. So that speaks a little bit to Commissioner Pollack's question about what goes on out here. We have a lot of administrative people that are in offices out here, as well as the sort of boots on the ground, public works, operations folks that you see driving the white trucks around town. They're all stationed out here as well. Let's see. Future phases of redevelopment will be completed to update and modernize the facility as budget allows. And they will be executed with their own land use applications with opportunity for public input. So the reason I wanted to put that in here is as we apply for the actual building permits and land uses, there will be additional opportunity for public input and obviously process to get approval from planning for those individual phases of redevelopment. And that's about it for me. Aaron pretty much laid it all out. I have my contact information here and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Questions for Luke? Using the raise your hand. Commissioner Slater.
Thank you. Hey, Luke, hope you're doing well. Quick question for you. And I think I saw it briefly as you were showing us the proposed design. Will the project have its own stormwater impoundment area?
It's a good question. There's
a lot of parking there.
Yeah, we're pretty crushed for real estate. So at this point, it's, we know that we have to meet code and standards for stormwater retention and treatment. And we may have to do that with some mechanical means, but we'll do as much green stormwater infrastructure as we possibly can. But I think some of the thought now is that we would put that below the parking areas.
So there's no plan for the city to exempt itself from that standard?
No, sir.
Thank you. That was my only question.
I also wanted to address Commissioner Levin's question on the alley here. This, I think, kind of depicts what we intend. Now, I should caveat this statement with, this is all well and good. It's in the master plan, but as I stated previously, this is going to be done as budget allows, and the scope will likely change over time. But currently, this is our vision for the final layout of the complex, and you can see where that alley you spoke of is here between the entrance and exit gates to the west yard.
Thank you for that clarification. Additional questions for Luke? And I believe you're off the hook, Luke. Thank you.
Apologies for the rough start, everyone. Thanks for bearing with me.
Oh, you bet. And I was going to ask you about that piano, so I'm glad you addressed that. No, we don't have anybody from the neighborhood association, but they did submit, their comments were incorporated in the report, which I thought were really comprehensive comments. And I don't believe we have anybody else, right, Shelby, signed up to testify?
Correct. There's no one else.
Okay, so do we have additional questions of Aaron before I look to close the hearing? And I'm not seeing anybody. So I will close the hearing. Commissioner McKinley.
Madam President, I move that we adopt the report on public hearing 5.1.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
Second by Levin.
Thank you. Second by Levin. Discussion on the motion. Commissioner Pollack.
Hey, so this property is city owned. It's the applicant is the city. The city staff prepared the report. It's going to be adjudicated by the City of Salem Planning Commission. So there's just a point that I want to put out for transparency and consistency purposes and to clarify. Within the last 6 months, another public agency who's claimed that they were going to continue their existent public purpose activities, requested a rezoning for public service and was denied by the council. So I just want to clarify, because of transparency purpose, because this is city property, that there are some differences in this, in that the prior property did have a multifamily zone on it existing. And whereas this property has no zone, no residential or multifamily zoning, nor does it have a current conditional use permit allowing multifamily. So that's one of the difference between the two projects. And the next thing is the prior decision that was denied actually had the whole site as part of the City of Salem buildable residential buildable land inventory, whereas this site is not, a portion of it is included on that buildable land inventory. And lastly, there is in the prior decisions, if we were to change it, it would have negatively impact the housing needs analysis by removing multifamily, possible multifamily in the future for the list, which we were short of. Whereas this piece of property has no current multifamily and designation, whether a conditional use or current zoning, that would negatively impact the housing need analysis. So there is quite a difference. It's like an apple and oranges. And I just wanted to point that out for transparency purposes, since we have City of Salem all the way down the line. And it just bothered me. And I thought I needed to show that contrast, and why I'm going to vote to approve it, because it's so stark in contrast, and because it does not affect any portion of the housing needs analysis. Thank you.
Commissioner Pollack. That was a great summary of the differences between the two cases. Commissioner Levin, followed by Commissioner Slater.
Thank you. I appreciate Commissioner Pollack actually bringing up those points, because I do think it is really imperative dealing with an application. And as Commissioner Pollack shared, that the city Public Works in this case is the applicant, but overall encompassing the City of Salem. And we just had an issue where another public entity was denied their request for zone change for similar type use. So that really helps, I think, for the record, explain why this is slightly different than that case. I wanted to add one item to the list of what this property serves, which is probably the most understated and the most heavily used, and that is the public good that it serves. This is one of a couple key locations in town where those of us real estate professionals that manage and maintain property for others can go and get sandbags for free that the City of Salem provides during flood events. And it is probably, of the different sand depots, this one is the most heavily used. And those of us that are in the 19th and McGillcrest area, that place is very, very important.
Thank you, Commissioner Levin. I did not know that. I don't know a lot, but I did not know that. Commissioner Slater.
Thank you. I just wanted to add to Commissioner Pollack's comments about the differences between the two applications. Particularly, my recollection is the previous applicant was particularly resistant towards making some of the landscaping and other screening improvements that would have provided some beautification to the neighborhood and some shielding of the parked vehicles, where in this application we're seeing, I think, a real interest in trying to improve that particular neighborhood, and I appreciated that.
Thank you. Other comments? Don't want to rush anybody. I don't see any more hands raised. So Shelby, will you please call the roll and signify by aye if you approve the motion? It's under consideration.
Commissioner Augustine,
Aye.
Commissioner Griggs,
Aye.
Commissioner Heller,
Aye.
Commissioner Kopcho,
Aye.
Commissioner Levin,
Aye.
Commissioner McKinley,
Aye.
Commissioner Pollock,
Aye.
Commissioner Schweikart,
Aye.
and Commissioner Slater.
Aye.
The motion passed unanimously. Thank you, Shelby, and thanks for the discussion, you guys, on that. Moving on to special orders of business, nothing. Planning Administrator's Report, Lisa.
Hi there. I don't have anything except that a reminder for our next meeting will be a discussion of our Salem. So hopefully all of you can make it that night. And it's too late, right, to schedule any hearings for that night, Shelby?
Yeah, so February 2nd is canceled, but the February 9th with Eunice is still on and no cases.
Perfect. That's all I have.
That's it. Okay.
That's
Any
it.
Commissioners' comments for the good of the order. And you can ask questions of Lisa too in that if you had a question. I didn't. No raised hands. Wow. This is just way too easy. Commissioner McKinley, did you have a comment for the good of the order?
No, I was just waving my arms frantically. Yeah.
Okay, well, I will adjourn the meeting then. See you guys next time.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.